All right, today we're deconstructing a really cool supernatural mystery that's told entirely through found footage. We're going to see how this collection of vlogs and later news reports pieces together a story that is just so compelling and seriously eerie, one little discovery at a time. And right away, the story just throws us into the deep end with this really chilling hook. I mean, think about it. Before we even meet our main character, we're hit with this 30-year-old mystery. A musician, a remote cabin, and poof, he just vanished. It is the absolute perfect setup for everything that's about to happen. Okay, so let's meet the person at the center of all this. Her name is Cassy Reed. She's a touring musician, and she's basically looking for a quiet escape to just focus on her songwriting. And the cool thing is, she documents her whole journey through a series of vlogs. We start with her arriving at what she thinks is the perfect creative hideaway. And honestly, at first, it really does seem perfect. In her very first vlog, Cassy gives us the tour of this idyllic, super isolated cabin. You know, it's the kind of place an artist just dreams of for getting inspired. But of course, this cozy, welcoming scene, it's all set up to create this huge contrast with the really unsettling stuff that's about to go down. Now, for Cassy, the real centerpiece of the whole place is this old upright piano. She is so thrilled to find it, and she even says that older instruments have more stories to tell. Talk about foreshadowing, right? She has absolutely no idea just how many stories this cabin and everything in it are just waiting to spill. And here it is, our first real taste of the mystery. And it's just kind of tucked away in her little cabin tour. It's this beautiful cerulean colored door. And it's locked. Cassy points it out almost as an afterthought, you know? The landlord doesn't even have a key for it. This is a classic Chekhov's gun. You just know this door is going to be a big deal later on. All right, let's keep going and see how this whole thing starts to build. Because the story, it shifts pretty quickly from this simple artist retreat to something much, much stranger. The supernatural element, it doesn't just show up with a big bang. It's more like a whisper. It's this melody that Cassy starts hearing in her dreams. You know, Cassy's own philosophy on how creativity works is really what frames this entire mystery. She has this belief that songs kind of have a life of their own and that she's just the person who channels them. And this exact idea, it becomes the central theme of the whole story. It just blurs that line between artistic inspiration and, you know, a full-on supernatural haunting. So the really crucial thing to understand is that this isn't just any melody. Nope. It has these very specific and pretty unsettling properties. For one, it's an earworm that follows her from her dreams right into her waking hours. It's beautiful, but it's also incomplete. It feels like it's missing an ending. And then, the most unnerving part, anytime she tries to record it, the audio gets totally distorted. It's like the song itself refuses to be captured. And this is where those two big plot threads, you've got the melody on one hand and the cabin's history on the other, this is where they really start to intertwine. Cassy takes a simple trip into town for supplies, and that's what leads her to the story of that musician who vanished. Suddenly, her own personal artistic struggle is connected to a much older and way darker mystery. I mean, look at this. The parallels are they're striking. Cassy starts digging into the local archives and finds the story of this guy, Daniel Hart, a touring musician, just like her, rented the same exact cabin, and he disappeared 30 years ago, leaving only his guitar behind. The similarities are so uncanny that when the librarian mentions a musician's curse, it suddenly doesn't sound like a quirky local legend anymore. Not at all. And this is when the threat becomes intensely personal. Cassy's trying to write an ending for this melody, right? Well, she starts finding these variations in her own notebook that she has no memory of writing. I mean, they're in her handwriting, but they just feel wrong. Kind of sinister. It's not just about a song anymore. It feels like something is actively messing with her creative process. So as Cassy gets closer and closer to actually solving this musical puzzle, whatever forces are at play, they start to push back. And I mean, they push back hard. The events over the next few days just escalate like crazy, moving from these eerie feelings she's having to actual tangible physical threats. Just look at this timeline. It shows this terrifying 3-day spiral. You can really see the progression here. It starts with a sort of ghostly clue from the past, right? Then it moves to pure psychological pressure as the melody gets more intense. And finally, it all culminates in a physical, violent attack. Whatever this thing is, it's not just suggesting things anymore. It is actively trying to stop her, and it's targeting her work and that mysterious door. And this right here, this is the last thing we hear from Cassy in her vlogs before everything just completely changes. I mean, despite the obvious, clear danger, her artistic obsession just takes over. She feels this compulsion to see it through because she's convinced this song is important. It's a classic horror trope, you know, the protagonist who refuses to leave the haunted house. But in this case, it's all driven by her creative passion. Okay, and now the storytelling takes this absolutely brilliant turn. The whole perspective just pulls way back. We shift from Cassy's intimate first-person vlogs to the cold, objective voice of news reports. And it is such a jarring change, and it immediately just cranks up the stakes. The first report we see is about a forest fire, and the point of origin? You guessed it, a lakeside cabin. All of a sudden, that ransacked room and the scratches on the door, they take on a much, much more sinister meaning. We're just left hanging, wondering what on earth happened in those hours after Cassy's last vlog. And then, here it is, the big cliffhanger. Cassy Reed is now officially a missing person. The story has come completely full circle. Just like Daniel Hart 30 years before her, another musician has vanished from that cabin by Songvale Lake. The found footage just ends, and we're left with nothing but questions. But wait, a week later, just when you think it's all over, we get one final transmission. A new vlog pops up, and the title is simply, I'm Alive. Cassy is okay, and she's about to explain everything that went down after the cameras stopped rolling. So here's her theory, all broken down. It turns out the song was never the threat. It was actually a form of protection, like a benevolent force or a spell. All that other stuff, the eerie feelings, the ransacking, the fire, that was a totally separate, destructive darkness that was trying to stop the song from being finished. And once she finally wrote her own personal ending, the completed song itself warned her. It acted like a siren, giving her just enough time to escape the fire. So what about that Cerulean door, right? The big mystery? Well, the moment she finished the song, it just creaked open on its own. And inside, it was a hidden room, like a sanctuary, and it was filled with old instruments and sheet music from all the musicians who came before her, including Daniel Hart's guitar. So it wasn't a prison at all. It was more like a historical archive for this long, magical tradition. And so the story doesn't really end with a neat little resolution. It ends with a new purpose. Cassy survived, she saved the song, but now she understands that her journey is really just beginning. Her final words leave us with the exact same question she's now trying to answer. Why does this song matter so much? It's such a fantastic ending because it resolves the immediate danger, but just blows open this much larger, more intriguing world.